All right. So do a little bit deeper. Tell the people who you are way better than I could have in that 13-second introduction.
Yeah. So Ryan Sanecki, hailing from Columbus, Ohio, heart of the U.S. It's shaped like Ohio. No one got that joke. It's gonna be a slow one. All right. Yeah, I oversee all of digital, loyalty, anything web, app, all of that fun stuff, and attribution is also my baby, which is a constant conversation with our exec team, but digital is kind of my thing.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. I'm Kaitlyn Sullivan. I'm the CRM marketing manager for Dairy Queen. Been with Dairy Queen about going on 4 years. So I oversee the CRM program, so any of those direct-to-consumer digital touch points. And then I also lead personalization.
So Ryan, let's start with you. What innovative features or approaches have you found are most effective in differentiating loyalty programs?
Yeah, so for us, as well as other brands I've worked for, I came into a mentality that all marketing has to be one-to-one. Everything you do, one-to-one. If it's loyalty, one-to-one. One thing that we're kind of doing that's innovative is we're not taking that approach anymore. We're doing one-to-some. And then from there, figuring out how do you get to one-to-one. From testing loyalty for email, we're big into A/B testing, but we're not just what content performs better, it's the data behind it. Like if we're using keywords in the subject line, are we keeping an eye on spam filters to see our clicks going up for loyalty messaging because spam bots are trying to check spam, or are people actually clicking? So in terms of innovation, we're thinking, how do we think smarter? And it's not always about getting it right the first time, it's about getting it started.
Ryan, do you think one-to-one is actually effective? Like, do we have to spend all of these resources to target like Allison individually, or is that just a waste of our time?
It's a great question. I think it is a waste of time because Bibibop, we have hundreds of thousands of different combinations. We're kind of like an Asian Chipotle. And people's menus and what they want constantly changes. I know earlier you were talking about 60% of people know what they're going to order ahead of time. With Bibibop, we have a beautiful line of food that people will make a decision on what chicken they want based on how it looks. Yeah. So we understand that some days people want, kale in their salad for the extra crunch. And then some days, they want to go edgy and get Korean barbecue beef, or they want to go healthy. Yeah. Which healthy is a whole nother conversation that I'm excited to talk about. Because the cool thing about Bibibop is we are gluten-free. Everyone thinks we're healthy. But when we get fitness influencers, they're doing #cheat meal, but everyone else is doing #healthy meal, which is another exciting thing to kind of talk about.
Kaitlyn, what about you on this aspect of like one-to-one versus consumer groups? How are you thinking about personalization that's scalable and efficient for the resources that you have?
Yeah, so personalization for us is a little bit of a new muscle. So we're kind of starting to ramp up and understand our data. And so we're, similar to kind of what Ryan was saying, we're kind of on this journey of how do we get from one to many to one to some and then ultimately one-to-one. For us, I think it's a matter of like when does it make sense to do one-to-one? And I think, we have within our loyalty program, we have deals and rewards and things like that. So I think it's a matter of taking the data that we have and understanding some of those behaviors and preferences. And, we might have a segment that behaves a certain way, and that might make sense for one to some, but then we also might have some of those super fans where, it might make sense to target them a little bit more individually and have that one-to-one communication. Yeah.
How much of your offers between the two of you guys are personalized, or are they kind of batch and blast?
It really all depends. I would say it's probably 50-50. We're constantly trying to figure out, do people want points? Do people want dollars? Yeah. It depends really on the month, possibly even down to the week from what we've seen.
For us, we're more in the batch and blast, but it's definitely an evolution and a journey for us. So we're starting to kind of explore what does that look like, the future of that strategy.
Yeah. Ryan, how has your personalization and loyalty programs really evolved over the last couple of years that you've been there?
Yeah, so talking about load speed and what size graphics we're using.
The really sexy stuff, right?
That's the stuff that like I wish people gave a shit about, but people don't. But one thing I'm focused on when I share that in our loyalty breakdowns is I'm starting to get the exec team to think more like mechanics rather than screwdrivers, which I think is pretty good. Like they're thinking beyond how did this perform, click-wise. But yeah, I kind of trailed off of that question, but build mechanics, not screwdrivers, people.
So then, Kaitlyn, as you're thinking about like what are you trying to personalize? How are you measuring the success? Like, what KPIs are you guys looking at? Right? Chris said it's just like I want to sell more donuts. I think we all want to sell more of this SKU, this product, but we have to be a little bit more savvy when we're choosing our KPIs. So, what are the things that you're most focused on a daily basis?
Yeah, we look for, what are the true measures of engagement? Within CRM world, it's really easy to, look at open rate, and that's not always the best measure of success. And so we prefer to look at things like click to open rate and conversion rate, and then on the loyalty side, looking at participation rate to really understand where people are converting and engaging, to understand, what's actually driving the behavior we're looking for.
Yeah, we are very much the same way. Sorry,
Same.
I trailed off. I just really want to know Kaitlyn's ice cream order from Dairy Queen.
You can ask her questions too. I don't have to be the only one.
Yeah, so the hard-hitting question. It's it's 8:30 at night, and you're like, I want ice cream. You roll up to the dimly lit Dairy Queen. At least mine is very dimly lit. But what are you ordering? Because your ice cream order says a lot about you.
Yes, I'm a peanut butter girl. So anything with Reese's, my all-time favorite. We had an LTO in, I think it was 2021. It was called the Reese's Extreme Blizzard, and it was like Reese's Pieces, Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. It was my favorite, but we have not brought it back since. So.
All right, Ryan, same question. What's your ice cream order?
So if you were drinking with us last night, you would know I eat like a child. I eat like a 5-year-old, but they let me drive, so I'm an adult. I'm just vanilla ice cream with sprinkles and a sugar cone that tastes like cardboard, but it's delicious when you roll up in a dimly lit, ice cream shop.
What flavor sprinkles?
So sprinkle, that's a great question. Thank you for asking. Chocolate sprinkles are technically considered jimmies, so I'm just the rainbow, Betty Crocker, big, you get, multicolor. Thank you. Yeah.
All right, back to the hard-hitting questions now that we took a little mental break. Okay, you guys have your favorite orders, right? We've talked about how people order the same thing, yet loyalty programs exist to drive different occasions to get people to change their habits. So what ways are you guys thinking about introducing new menu offerings, new products, new sides, whatever it is, to your core loyalty customers?
Yeah, incentivizing trial is something that we're constantly doing. Right now, last Thursday, we introduced a whole new concept called the Innovation Kitchen, which has 9 different toppings than every other location. So getting people to try chickpeas, a sunny side-up egg on top of your bowl, things like that. Thanks to loyalty data, we know what people order. So getting an egg person to say, hey, can you change from a scrambled egg to this premium egg, but you get it for free, let us know what you think. That's kind of the biggest. Usually it's, for an extra 100 points, try this and let us know what you think for an extra 150.
Do you find people actually tell you what they think when it's positive, or is it just the negative?
No, it's definitely positive. Bibibop, we're 100% gluten-free, so we have the celiac market pretty well covered, which the celiac market is cool because people don't dine alone. So if I can attract a celiac, I know they're going to bring their family one day, they're going to bring their friends another day, and it's going to constantly grow the groups that are coming into Bibibop.
Yeah.
So it's really just been great, all of that. Our celiac's very dedicated. Every time we launch a new product, people say, great, but what about, cucumber wasabi, which like 10 people bought, but those 10 people are on Instagram. If you checked our Instagram now, great, where's cucumber wasabi? So we have a lot of brand evangelists. If this was Facebook from 2010, there would be a bunch of wall posts and bumper stickers about cucumber wasabi and everything else that people love.
For Dairy Queen, we leverage what we call loyalty challenges within our DQ Rewards program, where we try to drive specific behaviors. And so when it comes to menu trial and things like that, we often will incorporate those mechanics into those challenges. And so if we are, trying to drive a specific menu item or whatever, we might include that as a requirement as part of that challenge, and we'll incentivize with bonus points. But we also look at just our purchase data and try to understand, what menu items are frequently purchased together, and just in general kind of bake that into our messaging. Yeah. So it's kind of a combination of the two things to try to really push, again, that behavior that we're trying to see.
Yeah. Let's click into the customer data for a second. Like, what are some of the criteria that you guys are using or thinking about to say, hey, I want to target this customer next, or this type of customer next?
So again, personalization being a little bit newer for us, we recently implemented a CDP, and so that's been able to unlock a lot of new data and customer insights for us. So it's very exciting. It's new territory, but it's great. So we're really trying to look at, marrying the two, like, business goals overarchingly, of course, and then looking at the data and what are kind of those digital goals and marrying those two things together. So again, using the example of menu trial or something like that, if we have a specific flavor that's coming out or something that we're trying to market, or we have a goal around that, looking at within our data set and, do we have a segment that has a higher propensity for a specific flavor profile, or do we have a segment that is more likely to potentially upsell? So it's like understanding those behaviors and patterns and applying it across our campaigns, and how does that apply to those larger business goals?
Kaitlyn, I have to say, I'm glad your CDP didn't exist when I was pregnant in 2021, because the amount of Oreo blizzards that I ordered is embarrassing. Embarrassing. Let's talk about the technology. So what technology do you guys just can't live without as you're thinking about the evolution of loyalty and personalization?
So for me, it's just Google Analytics 4, understanding site speed. We use Clarity, Microsoft Clarity, hopefully going to Hotjar eventually. But understanding how are people really clicking and navigation, because operators think everything is linear. They're going to click on this, then they're going to go buy. Well, no. Understanding how to tag really well in Microsoft Clarity definitely helps with insights. It does take a little bit longer, but I feel like I know the ordering system pretty well and where people tend to get hiccups.
For us, it's our entire CRM tech stack, quite frankly. We, within our CRM automation platform, and that's where everything gets executed from, and that in partnership with our loyalty engine, and just having, that's where the deals and rewards come from. And then, of course, now our CDP, and also with the CDP, we have a new analytics tool. So it's really kind of a combination that builds that infrastructure and that engine to take this data and actually do something with it, make it actionable.
Yeah. Chris talked about how they test everything before they launch, right? And I imagine he's erring on the product side. Ryan, you talked a lot about your testing. Are there things that, do we have to test everything, or are there other things that we should just go do?
I think it's not about getting it right. It's about getting it started. I know we were talking about, with Voodoo, if they didn't franchise out, they wouldn't, get out quick enough. I think we're very much the same way. Tahini was an ingredient that everyone was really stoked on, so didn't really test product as much as we usually do. Rolled it out, kicked ass. So I think it's really all, first is building trust, which I talked about earlier, building mechanics, not screwdrivers. And then, just not about getting it right, getting it started and figuring out how do you fail fast, and how can you, remarket to fix whatever you essentially broke.
We are a little bit more delicate, I would say. We tend to take more of a test and learn approach with what we do. Like when it comes to CRM specifically, we do a lot of test and learn with campaign mechanics, and just also, now that we have the data, kind of understanding our segmentation a little bit better. We also, being a pretty old legacy brand, we want to make sure that we don't upset the apple cart too much, and we want to make sure that we're still nurturing the relationships with our fans, because it's such a beloved brand.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, marketing is it's the balance of art and science, right? The science being the testing, the data that you have. The art of that kind of comes back to well, what's the customer actually telling us that they want? So what ways are you guys trying to get feedback from your customers that would ultimately inform your roadmap or your campaigns?
Yeah, a lot of it for us is review data. We're on Yext. We were on Sochi. But we're constantly running surveys, having QR codes and table touches in store, with people that you trust. People usually trust the GM that they, see every Wednesday for lunch, compared to, some tall kid walking around with a laptop saying, hey, what do you think of, this new pepper? So a lot of it is putting the trust in our operators, who usually know a lot of people by name when they come in. They know what they're going to order ahead of time.
So customer feedback is important in kind of having and maintaining that feedback loop. We have executed a few customer surveys in the past where we really tried to understand our DQ Rewards members' just overall preferences kind of around the program. What features do they prefer? Do they tend to lean more towards deals or points? And just really understanding kind of where we could maybe do a bit better of a job with some program education or something like that. Going forward, it's kind of part of our roadmap to look for other opportunities for that fan feedback, and just kind of bake that in organically as part of our CRM program.
Yeah. So one more question before we open it up to the audience. What are you guys most excited about when it comes to loyalty or personalization for 2025?
All you.
Sure.
I feel like I answered first.
No, that's okay. You're nexter. For me personally, I think I'm really excited about twofold. But first, I think there's so many new technologies, specifically AI. So I'm personally excited about that, and I think there's a lot of opportunity out there, and kind of what that can do and how that can help evolve. I also, just speaking specifically for Dairy Queen, again, I feel like a bit of a broken record, but just being that this is such a new muscle for us, we have so much runway now to be able to understand and leverage our data. And so I'm excited to just continue to kind of build and grow that with Dairy Queen.
I think for me, it's just continuing to have smart conversations with our exec team. Our exec team, they are all operators. Again, they think everything's linear. But now we're introducing, here are metrics. For loyalty, we created a system where we segment everyone, and we have a prospected purchase score that we kind of put together for every campaign that we run based on what they've ordered in the past. What's the propensity to buy based on just this data that we put together? I think just smarter conversations, again, continuing to build mechanics and not buying screwdrivers.
I lied. I have one more question. What do you wish we would just stop doing as an industry?
Oh my gosh, that's a great question.
Because there's just so much that we do wrong.
Yeah, if Chipotle could just slow the fuck down. Jeez. No.
Remember, you're recorded, Ryan.
That's fine. FCC. Yeah. But for me, I think getting too far into the minutia of, this worked for this one store, let's do it for all stores. Again, operators run our exec team. We launched a concept on Thursday. We're going to roll it out to the entire market, all 80 stores, on the 1st of January. So I think just looking at data more holistically, I know there's a lot of data scientists in the building, so really excited to continue to talk about that.
I don't even know if I have an answer for this question.
That's okay. You can softball because Ryan dropped the F-bomb. So I think we're going to move on. Questions? Y'all, do not make me call on you, Alicia, to ask a question. Thank you.
Hold on. Coming your way. And if we can get your full name, where you work, and then what your ice cream order is, 'cause I think that.
So good morning, everyone. Joey Dre. I'm from Subway, and my ice cream order is, I'm also very heavy into peanut butter. My question for you is, how do you leverage loyalty or personalization data to identify or understand guests that fall into the large kind of catering orders or family occasions or things like that? And do you do anything to actually promote it?
Yeah, good question. So we have kind of a unique, I mean, I'm sure it's the same for many in this room, but we have a situation where we have a pretty large segment that falls into Blizzard, Blizzard being kind of our bread and butter, if you will. So it's trying to understand, like, how do you take a larger segment and break it up into more like sub-segments? And so I think, like, within that, looking at people that go in and purchase potentially for a family, or people that go in and they're always like our lunch customer or something like that. So I think it's a matter of taking the data and splitting it into different like subsections, if you will, and just trying to understand it, like take what you have and understand it differently, if that makes sense. I don't know if that answers your question, but I'll give Ryan a chance to jump in as well.
Yeah, we have a great team of catering managers that really know everyone that gets catering, whether it be, the pharmaceutical rep that, gets catering every Wednesday. So we lean on our operators there. We do have, weekly touch bases. We do share similar platforms to keep all of our data together. It's just, leaning on people that know the relationship really well, and then from there telling us how do we get a little deeper and then test whenever we can.
Oh, not making me walk. I love it.
My name is Chase Harding. I'm from Ground Truth and coffee. Ice cream order is usually anything that's Moose Tracks like or coffee based, so kind of around that space. Both of y'all talked really well about how you utilize the loyalty data and for personalization once you actually have it. How do you think about growing the loyalty programs kind of in the first place and continuously kind of feeding that funnel with more data to continually kind of make sure that you're not letting your current loyalty atrophy or continuing to try to grow it if it's relatively new?
Yeah, for me, so Ground Truth, Brandon Bruton, great guy. He and I were talking about the look and the hook. So any campaign that we're doing on loyalty, past and present, it's constantly, are we dealing with a look here or is it a hook? So how do we continue to look like we really do care, but still maintain that hook instead of just simple jabs that don't knock anyone off their feet?
Yeah, we have like obviously some acquisition strategies and things, but I think it's a balance between that and also maintaining and kind of nurturing the relationships that we do have. So it's, acquisition is obviously really important, but then once we do acquire those users, it is, what does that onboarding journey look like? And with, if we have lapsing users, how do we re-engage them? So it's kind of this constant cycle, and it's, understanding that truly like the relationship part of customer relationship management.
Ryan, Kaitlyn, thank you guys so much.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.